hopping on here. I'm trying out some new technology. Hopefully it works. So please let me know if you can hear this. So I'm trying a different stream service today, and I'm just trying to figure out, make sure it's working the way I need it to work, because we have some things that we need to talk about. And Senate Bill 243 has it was scheduled for a work session on a Sunday, believe it or not. And so that's where I think it's really, really important. I'm going to kind of populate some things here. So give me just a moment, and then I'll hop in, and we'll talk about, what we need to discuss today. And I hope you guys are having a happy Father's Day. So I thought we were going to get a day off, but no such luck. So let's hop into it. And I'm just going to kind of populate these things, get everything going the way I need it to go, and let's talk about it. So we were anticipating movement. I didn't know it was going to come on a Sunday, and that's just the way things are working for us currently. And so if you guys can see this, please let me know. And we're broadcasting live on YouTube and also on Facebook as well. So that's kind of the new technology that I was able to add. And I'm hoping the audio is better now. And let's kind of talk about what's happening. And so what happened today is we got OLS updated. Senate Bill 243 was scheduled for a work session as early as tomorrow, 3 p.m., and that's going to be up in the Oregon State Legislature. And what they did is they added a -16 amendment. And so this is a super bad bill. They continue to tweak it, and they don't have a lot of time left in the Oregon legislature. So that's where we got to really be, aware and what's happening, and be a part of it. And so, this is some of the things that we can kind of look out for, and how we can stop this stuff. And so we got movement. And so, they have, cause it's coming to the end of the session, they can schedule whatever type of hearing that they need, and they only have to give us 24 hours depending on the situation. And sometimes they could even go lower. So it could be a couple of hours depending on how late it is in the session. And so the -16 amendment that they added to this, measure, this Senate Bill 243, basically is a component of the Measure 114. So we're talking about the magazine capacity restriction. And so what makes this one bad for us is it changes the effective date. And I guess one good way to look at it is that now they took out the part where it is an emergency clause. And so now what they'll do is they're going to make it so it's going to go into effect 91 days after the end of the session, which is going to be on January 29th. And so that's the end of the legislature. And so I just want you guys to kind of be aware of kind of where we're going at. So if you guys, hopefully the comments, if you guys can give me a comment and say hi, or I can see if this stuff is working. So 5x5. So thank you, G23. And so, that's where I just want you guys to know it's going to move fast. We need to act fast. And some of the things that we're seeing up there, and I know this is less than an optimal time to kind of reach out to you guys, because this is time we're all trying to spend time with our families. But I want to get you guys this information so you guys know kind of what we're looking at tomorrow. And so this is scheduled for, hey Drew, how you doing, buddy? And so this is going to be scheduled for a work session. And what the work session does, basically, they have a couple of options. Okay, so with this bill, hey Tanya, how you doing? And so with this bill, what they can do is they can either schedule it, and it's already been engrossed. And so the way it's been engrossed, it has obviously the rapid fire devices banned. It also has the preemption effects there. So it makes it harder for us to carry a gun in public, and actually has some criminal penalties. And so that's the current engrossed version. Okay. So with that one, and so they could actually just take that, just pass it out tomorrow, and it would go to the floor, and then it'd be ready to be voted on. Okay. And so that's kind of a worst case scenario for us. Okay, best case scenario is tomorrow at the work session, what they're going to do is they're going to try to amend it. They're going to add the -16 amendment, which would put in Add a fiscal impact to this bill. It will also make it so it's going to add the magazine restriction from Measure 114 and House Bill 3075. And then also what it's going to do is it's going to make it so if something, it's going to take away that emergency clause. So and so the way it would work there is, if they decide that they want to add this dash 16 amendment, they would have to pass it out of this committee. This is in the rules committee on the House side, okay? And what they would have to do is then they would go to the House floor. It would go to and get its second reading, and then it would get the third reading, and then they would vote on it on the House side, and then it would have to go back to the Senate because it originated in the Senate. Okay, so we don't have a lot of time, right? And so that's where I think it's really important that I'm hoping, and I'm looking at it like strategy wise, is that it's important that it's going to go to, get out of this committee, go to the House floor, then go back to the Senate. Okay, so from what I'm hearing, it could take up to a week for that to happen. Okay, so that could be a good thing for us as Oregon gun owners. Okay, so that would buy us the time that we need to figure out our next move, and we're still in it. We're not out of it. We got moves to make, and we just got to make sure we make them. And so that's where I'm kind of bringing this to your attention. I hate to do it on a Sunday. So no, let's, so that is a good question, but no, that's completely separate. Okay. So one thing to think about, the original Measure 114, okay. Measure 114 has what's called a severance clause in that. So, and the reason there's a severance clause in the original Measure 114 is if, let's say, the magazine capacity got struck down at the Oregon State Supreme Court, or all the way at the federal level, part of it would stay. Okay, so that means we could get stuck with the permit to purchase. Okay, so this is a hypothetical. So this would do nothing to, I guess the good thing about this though, because we are waiting for a review at the Oregon State Supreme Court. If they rule that Measure 114 is unconstitutional, then the part that they added to this that talks about the magazine capacity, that could actually get struck down. And so that could be a good thing for us. But the thing is, this thing would have to go into law. And so I don't want a new law. We have enough laws, and the laws that they have are not doing what they need to do. And so we have to, be aware of that and make sure that we're part of the process. And so, I just want to kind of get you guys in the loop, make sure you guys are, up to speed on things. And, the last thing we want to do is deal with this on a Sunday. And so, I think that the best thing that we have going for us is we got to identify who our elected officials are, make sure we have a conversation with them. I have identified candidates that are really, really weak up there, and they're weak Ds. And so that is something where what we could do, and give me 1 second, Greg, is we can start, if we're in their district, we should be reaching out to them. And we should be saying, no more restriction on law abiding citizens. Okay. That's what that is. And so I think it's really, really important to note is there's some that are going to be, trying to keep their seats. And so I think that we should be using that to our advantage. And I have identified, there's probably 10 of them. And so if we can key in on those 10 and say, hey, no more restriction, no more, none of this, and say, and vote with your vote. And say, no, we're going to vote you out. Your time in Salem is going to be numbered if you do not listen to your constituents. Okay. And so that's where it's really, really important to be aware and know who our senators are, know who our representatives are, and figure out how to have a conversation with them, especially this late in the session. It's going to be hard to get a meeting. And so that's where probably the best bet's going to be sending an email up there. What I can do is in the comments, I can put the links to all the emails to the people that are weak. And then we should be keying in on them and getting them, letting them know that we're paying attention. We're part of this process, and we're not going to accept another restriction, especially when it's going to do nothing to solve the problems that we're facing currently in the state of Oregon. And so another thing I want to talk about is obviously what happened, unfortunately, the other day in Minnesota. Okay, it was a tragedy, and I've already seen emails from the other side, and they're trying to use that to their advantage to push 243 across the finish line, and so that is very unfortunate. And because it's coming out, as more information comes out, it shows that it was not actually. It seems to me more like, and I don't want to talk too much about the specifics, but it was not something that would align with us. Okay, not somebody who would, and so I think it shows poor judgment on their part. But everything's emotional up there. We have to look at how they use fear and emotion to drive their narrative and their agenda, and so let's make sure that we push back on that and say, hey, banning guns on responsible law-abiding citizens is not going to help the problems that we face. And so that's where I want you guys to kind of be aware of. I'm going to kind of look at some of my comments. I've got some good comments, and so this is a great one. So Greg, and so the way this one works is there's no actual this thing is, and with that dash 16 amendment, what that would do is it's going to put it out to the end of the special session of next year. And so the short session ends on March 15th of next year, and this is going to it's or March 9th, excuse me, and this is scheduled to go into effect on March 15th of 2026. And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to punt it out of this session, right? They have a lot going on, and then they're hoping it's going to go to the short session. They'll be able to modify it, tweak it. The thing is some of them are up for re-election, and so that's where we have some things that are going in our favor, because now we can hold them accountable. We say, okay, so you're going to punt this out to the end of the next session, right? To buy yourself some time to say that you did something, right? And this thing hasn't gone into effect. So technically that part of the law is probably not going to be affecting us. Also, they're trying to figure out what's going to happen with Measure 114. So that's another thing that we should be kind of thinking about as well. And so there's just multiple things that we're going to be focused on. And I think our most important thing, as for tomorrow, is just making sure that our elected officials know that we will not accept any new legislation. These bills are flawed. I mean, if it was such a great bill, why didn't they pass all fours that were combined? Why are they, basically combining it just down to two, and then this is their magic bill? So this is something that we have to be aware of, and it's a no go for us, and we're not going to compromise on this. This just has to just go away. And you were looking at the state and the feds. Federally, rapid fire device is already being challenged. Other places, this is kind of a slam dunk for us as gun owners, because we can settle this pretty easily in court. And so that's probably a message that we could relate to them as well. Is they should be in fear for their seats, right? And they also should be in fear of the fact that this is going to be challenged at the next courts, depending if we're going to go, at the state court or the federal court. So just something to think about, So yes, you right there are very fortunate to have Rep Osborne, and he does great work on the behalf of Oregon gun owners. He's very in touch with what's happening up there, and I've been in contact with him, and so that's something that we should be kind of working on over there, is making sure that we know who they are, they know who we are, and seeing how we can work together to help them. So that's kind of where I'm at. So who all right, so who are you going to run against? I think it's really important as we do get involved. I really like that thought process, is identifying who our candidates are. Bro, it's so hard, and they want it that way. So who are you thinking about running against? I think it's important that we do get involved. I really do. You have to understand that depending on where you are in the state is how hard it's going to be. Some of these people are really, really entrenched, and that's why I think it's important that we stand up other groups and get involved. Oh, David Brock Smith. So you must be on the coast then. So interesting. So, Greg. So this is, yeah, everybody's confused, and I'm confused too, because and that's what they want, because they want us to just sit in the dark and feed us manure, and then they're going to turn us into mushrooms, right? We have to be part of this process, and that's why I've been trying to kind of sound the alarm and make sure you guys are part of the process, so you guys have a voice. Oh, you're in Douglas County, okay, awesome. And so, it's been a challenge, and I feel like we've come a long way and we're making progress up there, but we still got to stay to the end. And so all of these bills are going to stay alive until the end of the session. And so that's just something that we have to be aware of. And so that's, I got my fingers crossed. Tomorrow we're going to know more. We're going to know what kind of more what our fate is, and obviously, I'm going to put all the emails. If we can send an email, I know probably tonight's going to be a no go because we got family things going on. But if you could send something out tomorrow, and just a touch base, saying that we're watching, we know what's going on, and maybe reach out to the committee, and bombard the committee, and let them know that no, this new amendment is a no go for us, and we're watching this closely. We're involved, and we're going to vote. And that's the one thing that they're not prepared for, is they think that we're just going to stay home. And so this is a really important reminder why every vote's going to count coming forward and going forward. And so that's kind of where I'm at. I want to give you that update. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. I'm just trying to keep it all together. Yes, I've got some patches. I do have some of those. So, and I was actually down there this weekend or on Friday, and so I love Douglas County. Douglas County is great. So, any other questions? I want to get off here so you guys can get back to your day. I'm going to put a link to all the people that we need to contact, and it's not going to take much time. I'm going to make it as easy as I can. And what I'll do is in the comments, I'll put out who we need to contact, how we're going to contact them, and then we can go from there, and just make sure you're just part of this. Now is not the time to let up the pressure. And so that's where we got to make sure that we're doing the right thing, and we're staying up to date, and we're not going to give up, right? And we're going to keep hope. Okay, keep hope alive. So we're still in it. And so just make sure, I'm in. So yeah, so that's about all I got. I'm gonna get off here. I'll let you guys get back to your Father's Day. Happy Father's Day out there, and enjoy your families. But be prepared to still do the work. Okay, so just keep me posted. Yeah, Ray, I'm always available. And if there's any other questions you guys might have, please let me know. The best thing to know is the way the process works, and I'll kind of close out on this is, it's in a work session tomorrow, 3 p.m. It's on the House side. It's in the Rules Committee. Okay, the Rules Committee is going to. They have the option to not let it pass, but you and I both know it's going to pass. It's all depending on if they're going to pass it as it currently stands, as the B engrossed, which would be the preemption law. It also would have the rapid fire device restriction on there. So that would be one option. That would be the fastest route for them to get it to the governor's desk. The next one would be if they decided to amend it, which would be the Dash 16 amendment. And that's where it would pass out of the Rules Committee, and then it would go to the House floor. And then it would get the second reading, and then it would get the third reading, and that's when they would vote on it. And then it would have to go back to the Senate. The Senate side would have to then pass it there, and then it would become law at that point. So, that's something to think about. So that's the process in a kind of a layman's term, so you guys can understand and be a part of the process. So that's all I got. I'm going to put all the information here so you guys can see it, and then we'll kind of go from there, and hopefully we can just stop this stuff. So I'll keep you posted if I hear any more, and just be aware this stuff is going to move fast. Okay, so we're not going to have a lot of time to maneuver, and we're going to have to act quickly, and we're going to have to send emails, and I'll try to give everything that I can as quickly as I can so you guys can get involved. But it's like we're gonna have to work until the end of the session, and so that's kind of where we're at. So don't let them use the Minnesota what happened in Minnesota as an excuse to ban your rights. Please don't. So that's it. I'm out of here. You guys have a good day, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you.